What's going on, my soul family? Welcome back to the Awake with Jake show. On today's episode, I have brought on a very special guest, my queen, Melissa Sgambelluri. And it took me a while to learn how to say her last name.
But you got it, and it's perfect now. Hi, everybody.
So today we're going to be talking about all things conscious relationships, sex, masculine and feminine energies. And we want to start out by sharing our story together of how we have come into union, because I think a lot of times we see relationships on social media and we get really comparison-like. We start to compare ourselves to other people's relationships, and it makes it look like it's so good and so easy. But we're going to kind of pull back the curtains here and share with you that a conscious relationship, and really all relationships, but especially a conscious relationship, takes deep, deep integrative shadow work to come together in union to have a beautiful relationship.
It may not be easy, but it's possible. That's one thing I want to make sure I say. It's possible, even though sometimes it can feel very heavy and difficult. You know, the love that you share together is what guides you through. So never lose that. Or don't forget that is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times when we go through a challenging relationship, maybe we went through a toxic relationship. Like I know I went through quite a few of those.
Absolutely.
But if I hadn't gone through those relationships and seen what I had seen and experienced what I experienced in my childhood trauma, I don't think or believe that I would have been able to show up in the relationship that I show up now. And I believe it's probably the same for you.
Absolutely. The pain is what cracks us open.
Yeah.
The pain is what makes us seek more. You know, that feeling of, I know that there's more for me. You get that higher self is always crying out to you, calling out to you, not crying, calling out to you. And sometimes crying. But when you choose to start listening, and you can feel that magnetic pull to something greater, then the journey begins for each and every one of us.
Yeah, because, we get caught in these toxic cycles, and it's like our ego just wants to stay comfortable, wants us to keep us in this toxic relationship when we know it doesn't serve us. But we're like, in the back of our mind, we're like, isn't there something better out there? And you keep asking yourself that question, and eventually you find the strength to just leave. And I think a lot of people can relate to this, and they might even be in a toxic relationship right now that is not serving your deep heart, but yet you're staying in it because of your fears. And that may be the fear of not being able to make it financially, the fear of never finding love again, the fear of, what's going to happen with your family dynamic. I mean, there's a lot of fears around that, but ultimately when you align with your truth and the love that exists in your heart, and you trust in the divine plan, it will all work out with you and for you, because the universe loves you. God loves you. And you have to believe in that something greater is guiding you. And when you believe in that, you will leave a toxic relationship that you've been hooked into, right? By your pain, by your wounds. And that relationship cracked you open, as you were just saying, to expose you to the love that really is in your heart. And when you go through that pain, you can experience deeper love, deeper consciousness with another person, but you have to be willing to let go of what no longer serves you in order for what does serve you to birth into your life.
I love that. Absolutely. Because toxic circles, the toxic cycles are predictable, and we don't like things that we don't know what's going to happen. The uncertainty of the future. I feel like I talk about it often. The uncertainty of the future is what's scary, but there's two sides here. This could be the most amazing thing. Something I want to share, I don't know, I just feel called to, is, those little vision boards that so many people work on and do. I remember a time in my life when I had done a vision board for myself of what kind of relationship I wanted, what I truly desired, the way it looked, the words that stuck out. And at the time, I was trying to make a decision about a relationship that I was in, and I knew that it wasn't right, but it was very hard for me to leave because I had lost so much of who I was. It was gone to me, I couldn't see me anymore. And I remember finding that book one day randomly, and I opened up to the page where all the words, all the pictures that I had designed were there. And I thought to myself, nothing on this page is aligned with me and my relationship. And then I knew that it was time to go. And I had to trust and believe that no matter what happened, it was going to be better than right now.
I got a little emotional hearing that, honestly. It's like, because I feel like there's such a resonance with that. And I feel the same way. I remember I've told you this story before. I've never shared this with anyone, by the way. How when I was 7 years old, I watched this movie, and there was this beautiful woman in the movie, and she was like this like beautiful, magical woman, and she was on this boat, and I seen her, and I was like, I'm gonna marry a woman like that one day. And I always like held that vision in my heart of like what I really wanted in a relationship. And yes, seeing a beautiful woman and saying I want to marry her is kind of superficial, but I've always been a deep soul. And like, I always feel like I got in relationships with people that couldn't meet me at the vibrational level that I wanted to be met at, that I wanted to be desired and loved at. And I was caught up in these physical relationships, these lustful relationships for so long because I was still superficial myself. And when I let go of my superficial tendencies and I really started getting deep with myself is when I attracted you in my life. And I had went through a breakup and I moved into the mountains, and I really was like, I'm going to heal myself.
Right.
I'm going to heal myself. And I committed to my healing. I stripped everything away. I had no intentions of being in a relationship for a very long time. And I really just went deep into myself, 4 or 5 hours a day, going into the mountains, crying and releasing all of this shit that was built up in my system, the anger, the hurt, the pain, everything. And I just remember just being cracked open and just fully surrendered and just letting it all out. And, a few months later and down the road, I manifested you in my life. And I'm so grateful for that because, like it really does bring me to tears of joy to feel the love that I feel with you. And I'm just like so grateful to have you in my life because you've helped me so much to come deeper into my divine masculine energy, to really bring out that sacredness in my heart, to be able to hold space for other people, to be able to go deep with other people. And I've found in my life that you are like a sage to me. You're like your sage-like wisdom. And you carry just such a gentle, soft energy that is so nourishing to my sometimes over masculine core, And I was saying to a friend of mine the other day about how Melissa like rounds out my rough edges because I can be very rough. I grew up in a very rough environment. I grew up in the country, working hard, throwing hay, pounding nails, all the country boy stuff. And I grew up very rough, and my father was very aggressive. As many of the listeners know, he was very abusive towards me. I love him dearly, but he was hard on me. Like he beat my ass once a week, whether I needed it or not, kind of thing. And I feel like you've rounded out those rough edges. And that's really what the divine feminine has the capacity to do for the masculine, is to kind of smooth out those rough edges. And I feel like in parallel to that, I have helped bring more structure and clarity to your life.
But let's not forget that I can bring what I bring, but you have to allow and receive that from me.
Yeah.
You'd have to.
Fire trucks going by.
I know.
Right now.
That's from the hot fire, boiling out.
It's the polarizing energy of the universe. Is just like, here's a fire truck.
Right. But really, I believe, sometimes I feel like women, they get all rough around men. I can't find a man that'll do this. But it really is, I do believe at the core being of men, they have a deep desire for love. They have a deep desire to calm themselves a little bit. It's just allowing something different. It's just, we've been conditioned to believe certain things about different ways that men and women need to show up. And I believe that that's starting to really, everything's coming to the surface, and people are questioning now, what are my deepest desires? What do I really want for this life? And I think that everything sometimes has to crumble apart in order to be rebuilt the right way. So when things feel like everything is just crumbling down, it is a sign that there's a better way to put it back together. There's more things that are aligned with you, and there needs to be room for that.
Yeah. And by the way, we're going to be answering a few questions here at the end of this episode. Melissa and I are doing a live virtual training on March 7th Right now, you can go to jakewoodard.com/relationships and grab a ticket while they're still available. Spaces are limited and it will sell out. Our last workshop sold out completely.
Working out our hearts. That's
You can grab a ticket for $47 when you register today. And once again, like I said, the spaces are limited. So go to jakewoodard.com/relationships to sign up, or you can just click the link in the show notes or the bio, wherever you're listening to this on.
You'll get the scoop.
I was going to say something else too, by the way. We were talking about men wanting to desire love. Yeah. And that's very hard to communicate as a man. And I know I was talking with you the other day, and I'm not going to share too much of this. I'm going to go deeper into this into the workshop. But I was talking with you the other day about like how I like to be desired, how I want to be loved. And I shared that with a good friend of mine, and he's like, "You really said that? Wait, you really told her that like it hurts you when you don't feel desired, when you don't feel loved?" I'm like, yes, it does hurt because I have feelings too. I have desires. I want to be loved a certain way in relationship. And when I'm not met at that level, because the conflict was you were working a lot and I felt like, I felt almost neglected in a sense. And I said, hey, I feel like you've been working a lot, which is fine, but I want you to know that I don't feel like you're showing up in the relationship the way that you do. Mm-hmm. You normally do. And I said that to him and he's like, like you gave me a piece of ammo that I now have in my arsenal in a loving way, not negative, and I shared that with my friend and he went and said that to his wife. He's like, dude, I think our relationship's just got a lot better.
Right. That's the thing though. It's like when you said that to me, it hits me so much differently than if you were to like, well, you're not paying attention to me. You know what I mean? When it's coming from a loving place of just saying, hey, look, I'm feeling hurt right now. This is what's going on. But you're still in your masculine. That's the thing is like you can communicate with love and still hold that energy. You can still hold the feminine energy and say no. You can still hold the masculine and ask for what you want. That's the thing is like it's a misconception. You can be in your core energy and still communicate in a healthy way.
Yeah. When the man goes beyond his penis, he
okay.
and he truly gets honest with himself beyond his penis and what his penis desires are and what his ego desires are. He will find that he wants to be loved.
Yeah. I believe that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Because I had to learn that for myself. I was addicted to pornography at 11 years old. And that was a really hard struggle of mine for a long time. And all I ever attracted to me was lustful relationships because that's all I cared about. But then I was like, I'm not being met in the way that I want to be met. I'm not being seen in the way I want to be seen. I'm not being desired in the way I want to be desired. And vibrationally, I was attracting people to me at a superficial surface level. Mm-hmm. So when I went beyond that level and I really started to harmonize my inner masculine and my inner feminine because they were both wounded, they're way out of whack, right? My yin and my yang energies were totally shot. And when I started to harmonize those, I started to harmonize with other people and especially with you in our relationship. I mean, the romantic sense of yin and yang or masculine and feminine will manifest the most powerfully in your romantic relationship because there's such a polarizing charge there. You'll see it in your friendships as well. You'll see it in other people as well. But when you really start to learn about the balance of yin and yang energies and how they're working within yourself, because you have both of these energies, everything changes. So as man goes beyond his lustful penis, ego desires, whatever you want to call it, and he gets honest with himself, he will see that he wants to be loved. And that's why a lot of men, what I would call like horny bee syndrome, where you're trying to fly around and pollinate a bunch of bees. Yeah. A lot of men are doing that because they're still seeking their mother's love that they never got. And they still have that mother wound there. And they're going around trying to seek love from all these different women, but it's all hollow. Those one night stands, those multiple sexual partners, it's hollow feeling.
Mm-hmm. It's like temporary highs.
Yeah, it's all it is. It's just like eating a bowl of ice cream. That bowl of ice cream just makes you feel good while you're eating it. But when that ejaculation happens and it's gone and it leaves you, you're like, oh, I feel empty again.
Yeah, maybe
now I
gotta
go repeat it. Mm-hmm. I got to go repeat. It's just like a drug. Yeah. It is just like a drug. Ejaculating and looking for that validation through ejaculation and sex and looking for that through women or men, because women do this as well. Mm-hmm. They're looking for the validation of a man and looking for that validation externally. You'll never be fulfilled. You'll never be fulfilled because it can't fill you. It can only mirror back to you what you feel within yourself. And once I learned that, I was like, wow, I can't be validated by the outer world anymore. Everything started to change for me.
Mm-hmm.
What's been your experience with that?
With sex?
No, just no.
I don't know.
No, I mean like in the sense of being validated externally. Like, what's your point from like I know I can speak for a lot of men, like the horny bee syndrome.
Okay.
Where you're just flying around trying to pollinate everything.
Yeah.
Conquer everything, sexual conquest. But from a woman's standpoint, what do you guys?
We have a lot of pressure to be desired. And we get this, how do I want to say it? Like, we get very objectified, but we also objectify ourselves, you know? So it's from the start, it's look pretty. Like, I can't tell you how many times in my life someone has said, you just sit there and look pretty, you know, don't speak.
I'd want to slap someone for
but
that.
but
That's
the
so
more,
disrespectful.
I know, but it's like, I never even looked at myself as bringing intelligence. I didn't grow up that way. You know, I was just always seeking so I worked in music, as you know. And so I was like auditioning and standing in front of people, like almost like for me, I was conditioned like, hey, like me, like, please like me, tell me I'm good. And if you don't tell me I'm good, then that means I'm not good, you know? So like but we all go through it in our own way. We're looking for the approval of others. And for a lot of women, we have the pressure to have the perfect body. You know, we get shown this is what you need to look like or you are not lovable. And so we start to believe that within ourselves. And then we don't get to know ourselves at a deeper level to understand what we can bring into a partnership. And so we are just physically always trying to get there for our partner. And with pornography, we are pressured to be putting on a show because that's what men see. Is the woman just loves everything and it's just this great big show and like her needs are not getting met. I don't believe that's real, you know, because she's worried about the position of her body. Like we get so in our mind when it comes to sex about putting on a show that's why so many women have such a difficult time orgasming, because we're totally separate from our body. We're thinking what it all looks like, what it all needs to look like. And so we can't.
So you feel like the tension that women carry in their body because they're so like in their mind about like how they look, how it all, you know, all that stuff. You think that a lot of that has to do with like not being able to orgasm because of the stress that's in their body. Their body literally can't release that orgasm
because we're tense.
Yeah,
we're tense. We have the pressure to put on the show, like we're the object.
Yeah.
That's how, I mean, I can speak for myself, but I know with people I've worked with, like you can feel that pressure. It's like, that's why we worry about how we stand, how we sit. That's why like a lot of women are always fixing themselves, you know, because we are conditioned to believe that we are validated by the way we look. And the way that society teaches us too is like, you're too fat, you're too skinny. Like kind of, we can never get it right. So I think a lot of women, just the pressure, like we don't even know which direction to head in anymore.
Yeah. I think too, like going back to the orgasm thing, another thing is like you layer trauma on top of that. And that's not even necessarily sexual trauma. That's an obvious one, but like the emotional trauma that a woman experiences and gets stored in her body, that oftentimes gets stored in the womb center. The fearful vibrations, whatever she experienced, the abuse she might have went through in a past relationship or her childhood trauma, a lot of that gets stored in the body and doesn't allow the flow of the energy to release and through an orgasm and bringing that sexual energy up higher and cultivating that sexual energy, and especially in dual cultivation with a partner sexually, and having that dynamic of dual cultivation sexually. And this is not even just necessarily in the physical act of sex, but actual intimacy, being present with a person. Like the way Melissa and I are looking at each other right now, we have a deep, intimate connection. It's like our souls are merging. Right. And we often communicate like this, and we know when we're in our ego. And that's a big thing too, is like, and oftentimes when we're in our ego, like we're not fully present with each other. We're just disregarding or we're sarcastic, you know, whatever. We're playful with each other sometimes too, as well. But the key here is when you want depth in a relationship is to be deep yourself. And you can't go deep with another person if you haven't gone deep within yourself. If you're still stuck in the second grade, you're going to attract people to you at the second grade.
Right.
You know, you're not going to attract the 12th grader because the 12th grader is ascending. You know, so I see a lot of men that I know want depth in a relationship, but they're like, well, I just want to stay, you know, and hang out and bang and, you know, stay kind of at this level. But when you go beyond that, you experience something so profound and so deep that's so opening and healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so healing.
Yeah.
And if you think about what man is always chasing, he's always, I would say the wounded man is always chasing the money, always chasing sex, always chasing power, right? He's always trying to conquer something. He's always chase. But a lot of times what he's actually chasing is the feminine nourishment.
That's true.
The flow of money, the feeling of sexual energy. It's all feminine stuff. So he's trying to conquer that feminine essence, but he's going about it. And this is how I did it for most of my life until I really started to awaken. Mm-hmm. He's going about it in a way that's not conducive to his natural being. So he's doing it from his ego, and he's operating from his ego because that's what he's been trained. Most men are not initiated from becoming a boy into a man. So they get into these relationships and they may be an adult and be a man, in parentheses, air quotes, but he's still a wounded boy inside. And I think a lot of girls experience this as well, is their little girl inside of them is still really wounded. Their inner child is still really wounded. So it causes this kind of disconnect within them. Now, I do want to answer these questions here as well. We got 3 questions that we have chose from our listeners, you lovely people.
Thank you for asking.
So the first one is, how do you hold space for each other and not take it personally? Ooh, this is a good one. Because I feel like in the beginning of our relationship, I would say you took it pretty personally.
Very.
Not to call you out.
No,
I made mistakes as well, but
no, it was very difficult for me to understand how to let you process, because initially, which I think is really beautiful, is like I wanted to help, but I didn't need to fix it for you, or I didn't need to show up the way that maybe I would want you to show up for me, because we're different beings. How did I not start to take it personal? I really had to start having conversations with myself when I would notice maybe you'd be a little more quiet. Because at first, that's kind of a wound of me, is like to always blame myself. I grew up, and I feel like even my mom, like it always kind of was like, what'd you do wrong? Like it was always kind of like nitpicked. I was nitpicked.
Like critical.
So I did that to me. So it was always like, oh, it must be me, But I had to stop. I'm a big fan of just stopping for a second, taking a breath and asking yourself, all right, what's my truth right now? Like, am I operating out of my wounds, or do I really believe this? Because you're a human being. I have to let you be a human being. Not everything is about me. Not everything is about us. And I believe you actually had said that to me. You're like, sometimes it's not even has nothing to do with you. Yeah. I just need some space. And I had to begin honoring that. So I made it kind of like my deal with myself is like, when I noticed that you'd had an off day, or, you just wanted to be by yourself, I would intentionally go do something that made me feel good. Whether it was like sitting down and reading, playing with the puppies, like something that just made me feel good. Cause this is what? Dance. It's just, it's not,
I feel like when you started really embodying your feminine too, is like when you really started to like be able to show up for me. Like when you really started dropping into your feminine is like when you really were just like so much more, not of the mind. Cause I feel like when I'm processing something, you used to get really in your mind, like, what am I doing wrong? Like it's all about the shame wound. Right. But now you're just like, okay, just, I see you. Can I do anything for you? Can I be here for you in this moment? And if I'll just clearly communicate like, hey, like I just need some space right now. I just got to process this, whatever it is. And we separate, go on our ways and come back in together.
Right.
And a lot of times, like what people can't do there is they want to fix that person. And so for my recommendation, I would say to put your ego aside. Don't try to fix your partner. Just love your partner and hold space for them in a way that's gentle and loving, but not invasive. You don't want to be invasive when holding space.
Right.
I think
no
that's really
judging.
important. Yeah.
No judging. We all have moments.
Yeah.
Let that person have the moment. It's more like I noticed that when I maintained my vibration, it was almost as if you could feel me, even if we weren't in the same room or, in the same space. And you came out of what was going on a lot quicker because there was this light, around. And I think that that's what's so important is bringing your if I brought my vibration, which I have done a lot in the beginning, is like bringing my vibration down and almost getting angry at you for being human. Like, but that's true. It was like, well, you can't be mad, then now I'm mad. And it just, it's two energies clashing. It's just, then two people have to work their way back up. And it doesn't create that harmony that we're looking for.
Yeah, it's almost like if I was already carrying around 50 pounds on my back and you came over and dumped another 50 pounds on me, that would be like you getting upset while I was going through something.
Right.
Because I think people just take it so personally because they're dealing with their own stuff. So they automatically go right to the wound of, well, what did I do wrong? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily about you all the time. All right. That's your ego that wants to be, defensive and victim mode, but let that go. And if it's not about you, just give them space. If it is about you, say, well, what can I do in this moment for you? How can I show up for you? And that's something that I like to say to you is like, is there anything I can do for you in this moment?
Right.
How would you like to be loved in this moment? How can I make you feel more safe in this moment? And a lot of times it just has to do with my energy, slowing down, being intentionally present with you, and just being very available for you if you need anything, and just letting you do your thing, letting you process that.
I feel that also in relationship, we get very dependent on the other person for happiness. So if they're not at a high vibe and they're not happy, then we automatically don't understand, or I mean, we can, but we start to believe that we take that on. So then I owned that mood, and I realized, wait, I'm actually in charge of my own happiness. Why am I giving all of that power to my partner when I can take care of my own happiness? I feel okay. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting, but it's possible. And now I feel like I don't know. We just have an understanding of each other now.
Yeah, because it takes time to cultivate love in a garden.
Right.
Next question. How can my partner and I have deeper presence during sex? This is a good one.
This is a good one.
Well, I think firstly is be deep yourself.
Right.
Like I've said that earlier in this podcast, but if you're not deep yourself, you're just going to continue to stay at a surface level. And I think in parallel to that, being deep yourself also means doing your own shadow work and having your own practices, because you can't be present with someone if you're too distracted by all your mind stuff and all your ego desires, and you're not deeply present with that person in that moment. Because to me, when you have deeper presence during sex, you're literally merging your souls together in that moment. Mm-hmm. But, we get so caught up in the climax, the ejaculation, to bring it to an end, which is really like our masculine energy is all about the completion of the sex. Mm-hmm. And it's not about that, especially for the feminine. The feminine really wants to feel more love. They want to feel the connection. They want to slow down and be more in the moment. Mm-hmm. But a lot of masculine people, they're like, let's get right to it. Pound town all the way. And, it's
But
like,
women do it too. Not pound town. I don't mean that. But like in life, we're always looking to get that goal, to get that achievement, to get to the finish line. I can't tell you how many times people are like, I just want to get healed. I'm like, it's not really doesn't work that way.
It's a process.
It's a process. But then what happens is you miss everything on the way. Like all of the awesome things, all of the beauty, like you're missing those moments together because you're just trying to get to the end result. And you're like, I just missed everything. I wasn't present. But something I can say, especially for like feminine core people, is I started to develop a more intimate relationship with myself through like body appreciation, body touch, movement, really feeling what felt good to my body, learning, because I think I didn't really know, which is amazing to me. But
I think another thing too, and we're going to share more about this in our next workshop, so make sure you grab your tickets for that, because we're going deep into this stuff. The last thing I want to share with you too before we move to the next question is the breath, slowing down with the breath and learning how to breathe properly during sex, which is something we're definitely going to talk more about.
Yes, but slow down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like you can use your breath to get more into your body, and actually learning how to breathe properly during sex is really a game changer. Like it really is, because it really is so opening and healing to you in that moment to really get you out of your mind and more into your body.
The breath is, sorry, I didn't mean to like cut you off. The breath is something that has actually helped me drop into my body during sex. I'm really surrendering, letting go. And like, I envision just like everything coming downward and just relaxing. I pull my shoulders back, like you have to be aware of what you're bringing into that space and what's your intention with this.
Right. Yeah. And another thing too is knowing your core energy.
Oh my goodness.
Like for as far as like a sex and like engagement, if you don't understand your core energy and you're not acting in that core energy in that moment, then your polarity is gonna be all off. Your polarity is gonna be shot. Mm-hmm. It's like putting the wrong oil in your vehicle, honestly.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. When your polarity's off in the relationship, it's like having the wrong oil in your vehicle, and your vehicle doesn't run right. So understanding your core energy and how to bring that in the relationship is really a game changer for conscious sex.
Absolutely. Can I mention something? Because I'd like to get your insight now that this just came up. I think a lot of women ask, is it wrong for me to initiate sex? And I feel like I just want to say it's the way that you go about initiating sex. You can. I think that you should.
Are you doing it like a man, or are you doing it like a divine feminine woman?
There's and I say that about how you set boundaries, like all the misconceptions of the feminine energy being the weak energy. Yeah. It's not weak. It's the delivery is different. The way you go about it is different.
It's more seductive.
It's more seductive. Yeah. Not even in a sexual way, just
feeling. No, it's a sexual way.
But not when you're setting a boundary. I don't.
No, but I'm talking about sex.
Oh, well, when you're talking about sex,
when the woman comes and she's seductive in the sense of a container of feminine initiating sex, and she's seductive, that's so attractive to the masculine. But when she comes in like what a man would do, like I want to bang right now, it's like the masculine might not find that so attractive. Yeah. So I think it's really about flowing and being more in your feminine in that moment, and being like almost like luring in that masculine energy, because the feminine is very magnetic, very magnetic. So you can polarize that energy to you. And that's really how you're initiating sex, is like you're like this like flame, right? And like just drawing the air to you from the oxygen to build the fire.
Right.
Oh, where that's just
because I like that. But even when, say you're out somewhere and you see an attractive person that's, you're assuming they're in their masculine energy, there's a beautiful way for you don't have to ignore them, be like, they have to come to me because I'm the feminine. It's not about that. Yeah. You do it in a different way.
Learning how to do that is a game changer.
Your eyes and your mouth and your movements, like that's what invites. You're inviting, you're not like demanding or chasing. You're just inviting, you're opening your space.
Opening your space.
Yeah.
So the masculine presence can enter into your life.
Isn't that interesting? It kind of goes with like sex.
Yeah.
You're opening your space so the masculine can come in.
Well, the penis is the external.
Right.
And the vagina is the internal. So, it's the balancing of the masculine and feminine energies.
I like that.
All right, last question.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on dating apps? This is a common question that we both receive a lot of.
Yeah.
And I really feel that there's nothing wrong with dating apps, honestly. I think it's more about your intention.
Absolutely.
And your vibration. Intention and vibration, meaning you can write whatever you want in your profile, but if you're not embodying what your profile says, your energy is also, it's just going to translate through.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like you can have whatever you want in your profile. Like I'm a light worker, healer, psychic medium, Reiki 2-level expert, twin flame healer. I don't know what you call yourself. Like you could put whatever you want in your dating profile. But the thing is, if you're not embodying, so embodiment, integration of like everything that you really are saying you are.
Right.
And your intention. What is your intention for being on a dating app? Are you just looking for random hookups? Fine. If that's your intention, be clear with it. But if you're looking for a deeper romance, be very clear with your intention, because you're sending out a vibrational frequency into the universe.
Right.
You may see it on a phone and it's, very superficial to just swipe through people's pictures or whatever. But ultimately what you're looking for is the energy and the vibration to manifest in your life that's going to really bring you a deeper sense of union.
I think when you look through the dating apps, it's about the intention. Feel into the energy of how you feel. If you just sit there for a moment and you just look at a picture and you just breathe for a moment, like you have this so much intuitive wisdom within you if you allow yourself to feel into that. I totally believe that.
Yeah. I mean, you can read someone's energy through a picture. I know I can see people's like energetic fields in a picture.
Yeah.
And when you really start to tune into that, like that's huge. But also, say you meet someone on a dating app, then it goes, there's a lot of different steps to this process, but say you meet someone on a dating app and you're interested in them and they're interested in you. Once again, it comes back to understanding your core energy.
Right.
Because if you're feminine, you're a feminine person, man or woman, and you're not allowing the masculine to lead, you're already from the beginning setting a stage of clashing energies. So for example, if the feminine person is on a dating app, allow the masculine to lead. To let them plan the date, let them do these things, because that's what they want to do. Their energy wants to lead, and not in like a controlling ego dickhead way, you know, like, if they're leading with love and integrity, that's a divine masculine person.
And that's the way to know if they are a masculine
Is
core
how they
energy
lead.
person, is if they choose to lead. Yeah.
So if he shows up in the container of like, listen, I would love to take you on a date. How do you feel about this? Like the feminine's like, woo, you know, like come to me, baby. You know what I mean?
But that's what I desire. That's the thing, is like, you really want to be honest about what it is that you want. Something that I notice that a lot of women do is because we have this desire to be independent. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to receive because we want to prove how not weak we are. But if you're being honest with yourself, a lot, like feminine core people do desire to not lead the majority of the time. Not to say they can't say no, but it's about being honest with yourself. And that's how you're going to discover your core energy, is to be vulnerable and honest about what it is you want. It doesn't make you one way or the other. It's just, that's what you want. Throw something in your profile that really is your true authentic self. Because you get on the date and then someone's like, well, I don't want to get married. And you're sitting there and you're like, well, I do, but I want this to work. So like, neither do I, you know, like, don't throw out the things that you want. The right person will stick around, you know, and it will align. You don't have to force it. You shouldn't force it.
I feel like people are so easily influenced by other people because they don't know their own truth. And I think as you discover your own truth, you'll stop being so easily influenced and manipulated by other people and what they want. But if your truth is you do want to get married, you do want to have kids, you know, like these things are your true core essence, like honor those things. Right. Don't settle for less than what you truly, truly desire, because you're ultimately going to end up unhappy and unfulfilled.
You're just filling a hole at that point.
I mean, that's all it is. So my thoughts on dating apps as a wrap up here is, I think that if you do it consciously, like anything in life, if you do it consciously, you do it with intentions, you understand the polarizing masculine and feminine energies, which we're going to be teaching more at the next workshop, then I think you'll be in a good situation, a good position. You know, but listening to your intuition, like what Melissa was saying, especially if you think someone's kind of off, don't go on a date with them. You know, like, or maybe go on a date with them and just, you know, feel the energy of it. But I'm telling you, your intuition will pick up red flags very, very quick, very quick. Because discernment, the eye of discernment, when your eye is open, your third eye, you can see people's stuff quick. You can see their imbalances. Just look into their eyes. You want to go on a date with someone? Say the first thing we're going to do is we're going to eye gaze for 5 minutes. If you can't do that with me, we're done here.
You know what's funny is we did do that.
We did do that.
We did do that.
You know what I mean? Like,
and I had never
that'll tell you everything you need to know.
I had never done that before, and it was not comfortable at first. But then it ended up, like, the longer we sat there, I don't know, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, our faces just kind of disappeared, and like all we saw was like the soul. And that's the thing, is like, you can feel someone's energy through their, like, especially in the eyes. Like looking into someone's eyes, you can tell so much about a person.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think dating apps are just an updated version of what's going on in life now, you know?
We live in a technologically based world.
If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't, you know? I think it's whatever feels right to you.
Ultimately, it's your energy and what you're calling into your life, whether it's through a dating app or through meeting someone at a grocery store or a yoga studio. When you're in a vibrational alignment, you're doing things that you love. You're being of a loving vibration. You're going to manifest people in your life, friends, family, and romantic partners that are of a loving vibration. Now, sure, you're going to still call in people at times that are not of a loving vibration, because they're here to remind you to further awaken and to heal yourself.
Absolutely.
Wow. Once again, thank you so much for listening. We hope that this episode brought you a ton of value. If it did, feel free to take a screenshot of it right now. Tag Melissa and I on Instagram. Share it to your story. We really hope to see you at our next workshop on March 7th. Tickets are only $47 and spaces are going to sell out soon. The last workshop we did sold out. So go to jakewoodard.com/relationships to sign up today. Don't wait, because the spaces will sell out. Any last minute thoughts from you?
I'm very grateful to be here. And I'm grateful that we have not given up on each other.
I feel that.
I never felt, even when we separated, I never felt, I think I said that to you, wasn't I? Like, I'm not done with you, Jake Woodard. I don't think this is it.
I'm glad you didn't give up on me.
No, but the love that you desire, to the listeners, the love that you desire and the things that you really truly want begin with you, standing in your truth and asking for what you want, and B, just willing to get a little uncomfortable, it is completely worth it. And once you trust and you see that things, I don't even know. I'm getting all like butterfly-y, but it's possible. Just don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on each other. It's two people coming together to add to each other's lives, and it's beautiful, but it begins with the way that you connect with yourself. So really, like, learn to love that soul inside of you. You are pure love and joy and peace and all of those good things.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when you do that, and if you're in the wrong relationship or the one that's not meant for your path, that relationship will fall off. Yeah. And you got to let that go. And then eventually down the road, you will attract someone that is so much more of a vibrational match to you. And I don't say this for some woo-woo bullshit. I say this from my truth and what I've experienced in my life, because the way that Melissa meets me is at the soul level that I desire. And what I've always desired was that. And if I didn't let go of the relationships I was in that didn't serve me, I would have never manifested a conscious relationship. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being here once again. We love you, and we will see you at our next workshop on March 7th. Have a beautiful day, and as always, stay open, stay loving, and stay connected to that beautiful source within you.